Time and time again. Oh, yes. Time and time again. He just keeps on great things. Oh, bless him. Oh, bless him. Oh, yeah. Somebody he opened a door for. And someone he made a way. Touched a sick body. Delivered out of a circumstance or a situation. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Bless him. You may be seated. You may be seated. You may be seated. Praise is due God all the time. And it used to be a time when I would wait to get to church. And I thought that was the only place that you would or were supposed to bless him and praise him. Then things start happening in my life that I could not contain myself. I start thinking him in things that I was in. I start thanking him for those things. Then the times when he was bringing me out of stuff, I found that was a good time to give him thanks as well. And as I gaze into the sky, find that there's a Father that is yet so far away, but so close. He's the lover of our souls. And his eyes up on us at all times. I thank him for that. If you don't mind, turn with me to the book of Genesis. That one shouldn't be hard to find. And I want to read verses 1 and 2, if you don't mind. Read verses 1 and 2. When you found it, say, I got it. I had a pleasant surprise on yesterday. I was standing on my porch at home. I guess my porch would be at home. And at a distance, I saw this car come around the curve out of the trees. And I looked at it and I said, that looked like my son's car. And fast as he was driving, I didn't have to wonder long. But I wasn't expecting to see him on yesterday. And as he pulled in the drive and backed up, you know, young folk got these tinted windows you can't see in or out. From the passenger side was a bigger surprise. I had an opportunity on yesterday to see my baby brother. And that was a pleasant surprise for me to see, I guess, a old man and a young man riding together. Iron sharpens iron, they say. Genesis chapter 1, and I want to read verses 1 and 2, and then I'm going to ask you to indulge with me for a little while as I would try to peel the layers from this text. Reading from a King James version of the Bible, it says, in the beginning, I want you to hear this, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Catch this. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. From those two verses, I want to try to preach from the topic. Things don't have to end like they started. Things don't have to end like they started. I alluded in conversation that oftentimes we get baffled by the present moment that we are in. Our exclaiming or our expressions would seem to indicate to hearers and those who are watching that we have arrived at a moment in our lives that we are either going to sink, drown, die, or fail. Our expressions to an onlooker would seem to say to them that, wow, they are not going to make it. They're not going to make it. When it is our time to be used for the glory of God, I wonder, do we miss that out of his options, he picked us for the moment we're in? Nobody told me that the road would be easy. Catch the next phrase. I don't believe. I don't believe. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. It would appear that we have nowhere to turn and no one to help us. This moment that I'm in. The tragedy for a believer is to be convinced that where you are, God is unaware. I don't even feel like I have to say nothing else now. The tragedy for a believer is to be convinced that where you are, that God is unaware of your location. God brought me to this? This? God can't know this. And if God does, then what's up with God? What is the purpose behind this calamity? I want you to know, and this is just repetitive news, but I want you to know that God has been out for your development for a long time. Bear with me for a second. When it's the last quarter period, only a couple of seconds is on the clock. You're at least 1 point or 2 points down. You either need a basket or a foul. The gathering in the circle among the coaches is what player is the best option. What player is the best option? We need a basket or we need a foul. Either one would put us in position to have an opportunity to either tie this game or win this game. The beautiful thing about it would be if we could get a 3. If we're 2 points behind, if we're 1 point behind, if we can get a basket. But if we can get neither, can we get to the line? So what ends up happening is the coach picks the best player that can either hit the basket or draw the foul. Because we need to win. God has a whole sanctuary full of cathedral lights. But I don't need but one of them to show up for this exhibition. I need one to show that when hell has broke loose and troubles are on every side and folk is losing confidence and there seems to be no answer around, I need to pick the most likely person that will stand up and say, not only for God will I live, but for God I'll die, and let God know that you can depend on me if you can't depend on nobody else in this room. Because as I'm going through my story, I'm going to give you glory at the same time. I'm not going to lose heart. I'm not going to change my language. I'm still going to have a hymn on my tongue. I'm going to sing my way through. I don't know why the devil keep picking on me. It ain't the devil picking, it's God's election. I hope you can see it. He could have picked any of these. But he picked the one that was the best fit. I want you to understand from this topic that I chose is that things don't have to end like they started. Is that when you look at verse number 1, it tells us God's predicament. In the beginning, God had nothing. But God wouldn't settle for nothing. You may have woke up this morning feeling like you had nobody to turn to, no resources available, no answers. But it doesn't have to be that way. In the beginning, God understood something in verse number 2, that the earth was void, it was dark, nothing was there. So God says to himself, I would say, not to himself, God says in this Trinitarian concept that we got to do something. If there's nothing and we desire something and nothing is what's available, then we got to create. Many of us are waiting on folk to give us something instead of creating something. Oh, my children need to know I'm not intending to leave a whole lot. If you waiting on me to die, I got a long while I live. By the time you get what I got, you probably going to be almost at retirement age. So you better get on your hustle waiting on my stuff. Ain't many of y'all heard me talk about what I'm leaving my children. You might have heard about what I'm leaving my grandchildren. If I had to make a first point, my first point would be, what do you do when there seems to be nothing? You got to learn how to create. What would be the point of that, Gary? Is to get in our minds that we got to stop waiting for folk. No, it's real. It's real. Can we talk about it for a moment? Every one of us in here are guilty of wanting to make a phone call. Or let me talk to somebody. Let me consult somebody. And then when it seems like they're empty, I done talked to mama and TT them and big uncle them and they ain't got nothing, child. I don't know what we're going to do. I just don't know what I'm going to do. Does that sound familiar? I looked at my bank account. I just called and I got more things pending than I got balance. And I don't get paid till the end of the month. And I just don't know what I'm going to do. My phone is ringing and people are pulling and tugging, demanding, and I just don't have everything that people are looking for. I'm tired, I'm worn, I'm stressed on every side. It seems like nothing is going to lighten up, and it just seems like we are empty. Nothing is there. So we give the impression, can I come down one more? We give the impression that we're waiting for a handout. That our answer lies within someone or thing other than ourselves. We give the impression that we don't have the capacity to be resourceful. Because all we know as resolve is who is in our contact list. I know I'm deep down now. Could it possibly be that God would allow you to exhaust your contact list so you can make contact? I'm getting ready to say something that's going to sound real foolish, but some of us have not lived because someone else has always been there for us. What do you mean that I haven't lived? You haven't come to a place as of yet when everybody you call says no, even when they got it. And the person that you relied on the most seems to be unavailable at the moment that you need them. That's critical. And now you are just about to give up. Let me take these off so I can preach and not see. And you are just about ready to give up because everything you know has come up empty. You've considered every option but God. Somehow God arranges things in times in our lives where we will make new discoveries. The discovery is that, yeah, you used to could depend on them, but when it really matters, you get to the crust of life, and when they are busy and they don't have what you need, the question is what you're gonna do. The resolve of that is learning how to lean and depend on Jesus. To know that God would never bring you to a place that God is not prepared to bless you in. You might have to stay there for a little while, but you must know that where you are is not a forsaken place. That the place that you are in is God's preparatory place to let you know that if you're going to trust anybody, you better trust me. My line is never busy and I never got too many things going on. You better know that even when the enemy is lurking, that I am your protector. You better know that when you get hungry, I will provide. You better know that before you lose your mind, I'll send peace into you. That even with the storm rolling in your life, that I will still watch over you. God will somehow arrange things in order for us to wake up and start living. There's nothing more, give me my towel, there's nothing greater than coming to the reality that I ain't got to depend on Pookie like I used to. I found out that if I call on God, he'll show up for me. That when I call on God, he'll do what I'm asking. I found out that he will make a way. And not everybody have to know my business. There are some things that I prayed in secret that he's openly done for me. I've discovered that if I had a need, he can answer. What's ended up happening is that our borrow list starts to dwindle. Our affairs on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, tweeted. God somehow arranges us to come to a place called empty so that he can create in us hope. Listen at this. Listen at this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Verse number 2 says that I ain't got my phone. And the earth was without form, and she was void, and she was black like me. But what happens, this is what I need you to catch. What happens when God faced an issue was that God didn't get trouble. Rather, God got motivated. Can you hold that one more time? One more time? One more time? Listen, it seems a strange place to throw a conjunction. I don't know any grammatical people in here. I might not need to go that deep. But read this. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And it seems like God kept an and running. Listen, watch how I read this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, he tells us this. And the earth was without form. Watch this here. The earth was without form. Now, when you ain't got nothing to look at and nothing to see, and nothing, I mean, you know, it ain't got no form. You just got a whole blob. And it was void. Then it goes on to say, and it was dark upon the face of the deep. And, watch. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, let me go ahead and do something. Seem like the period should be removed and let that and keep running on it. But what God says right here, that even if you stop there, don't forget this and. Can I go ahead and put it in the real sentence? I lost my job, and. I'm preaching right now hard as I can now. It's real deep right now. My car broke down, and. I got to go to this crazy job tomorrow, and. I have an appointment with the doctor tomorrow, and. Because no matter how life compounds things, God gives us an and, God moved. But what did I just say, William? No matter what your mess is, God can move. No matter what your issue is, God can move. No matter what your problem is, God can move. So here's how it looks to us, Michael Francis, in reflection. Man, I remember when I was just sick as a dog. I didn't know what was going on. They ran all kind of tests on me, and God healed my body. That's how we tell it after the fact. But when we're in the mess, we ought to also, when we're in the mess, we need to remember that no matter what our complaint is, there is an and. Do y'all get it? Do y'all get it? Okay. Do you mind? If you say no, do you mind? You do mind? You do mind, so I can't bother you. But I got to bother you. You closer to the outside, so stand for me. This is called an icebreaker. Here's the thing. You ain't got to do nothing but stay right there. I got it. You ready? Here's what ends up happening. With all of your problems, God is saying, and I'm with you. With all that you got going on, and God is with me. Remember what I'm saying, and no matter what I'm facing, and God is with me. I just want to give them that picture. I'm afraid, and God is with me. I'm shy, and God is with me. I'm done. You got it. Here is what I want you to see, that when we get to a place of nothingness, and we get to a place where we find ourselves empty and void, when we get to a place where it seems that nothing that we're facing has any formation, we have to begin to ask ourselves certain kind of questions like this, and this is the primary question: what am I going to do? Let me tell you something. Before God was able to do anything about heaven and the earth being void, God had to have an imagination. Now, here's the problem with most of us. Most of us can only see where we are, and we can't see where we're going. Go on and preach, Gary Adams. I believe I will say that one more time. Most of us will see where we are, but we don't see where we are going. What ended up happening with God, and we could throw the and in there, because God was saying that I understand that the earth and the heaven, that they ain't nothing there. I can understand that it's dark. I can understand that it's void. I can understand that it's empty. I can understand there's no form, but I have a picture in mind. I see me in the future. How do I look? And I look better. What am I doing? I'm walking in favor. I'm trying to tell my story. I want you to stay with me. I want you to stay with me. Even though the world was dark and void and without form, and darkness was an indication that we can't see, God still had an imagination. Let me tell you something. Faith cannot be blind. What God shows us in this particular text is that no matter where we are, we have to have vision. This side right here ain't with me. I got to go here. No matter where you find yourself, you must have vision. If you're going to stay up at night, this is what you ought to be struggling with if you're going to stay up at night. Where I am don't look like what I see. Who I am is not the person that I see. Watch this, watch this. Before God said anything, he had to have a picture of what he wanted to see. Can I flip the script? What do you see? And if what you have is not what you see, what's the next step? This is what happens in a lot of our lives, is that wherever we fall is acceptable. Whatever happens is okay. I remember not long ago telling myself in the mirror, oh no, I can't settle for this. This is not what I expect as an outcome as a believer. There's a person that used to hang out with us a long time ago. You used to say that the devil is a lie. We have to come to a place as believers that what we see and what we have been in communion with God about, anything less than that is a part of the process, but not the promise. Am I too low? Am I speaking too elementary here? Because here's something. There is no one in this room that can persuade me that I'm not great. You can't persuade me that I'm not great. Oh, no. I might not be as great as you think I ought to be, but I am great for me. That's why you can't make me watch. That's why you can't make me go buy a new truck, because I know I'm great in the '04 Sequoia. Because I know that it's not things that make me who I am. I know that I'm great even if I don't have a truck to ride in. Y'all better help me here today. It's not what I wear on my back that makes me who I am, but it's my walking with my God that's able to keep me in perfect peace. I'm in a truck that's old, but guess what? I'm okay with that, because I understand that even me, he's keeping in the truck at the same time. I'd rather have Jesus. Y'all talking about silver and gold, that song, than anything. Are y'all with me? God was able to have imagery in his mind of what he wanted to see. And when God began to see what he wanted, he was able to communicate to the voidness of the world and began to say, let there be light. I hope I'm making sense. You would never be able to change something to your satisfaction if you don't have a picture in your mind of what you want. Otherwise, anything is acceptable. But when you have a model in your mind, you know that things have to step up to a particular level. It's certain kind of guys you want your daughter to date. And it's certain kind of girls you want your sons to date. There are certain people that it's okay with your children being friends with, but don't put a girlfriend and a boyfriend in front of the friend. If you didn't have a picture, then why is that a problem? Richard ain't got to say it. I'll say it. I wish Trinity would walk up in here with a guy that looked like he don't want to do nothing but sleep. You ask him, what are your future plans? I ain't got none. What you want to do with your life? Nothing. Richard ain't got to speak. I'm going to say something about that one. I'm like, dude, no. And I look at Trinity and say, walk with me. Walk with me. Listen, girl, let me tell you the truth now. Listen, did you hear what I just heard him say? What do you want to do? Nothing. What are you interested in? Nothing. You know what I'm telling her? It's going to be a long walk. We're going back to him soon. It's going to be like 20 minutes of walking. And I hope when we come back, he will say, shoot, I got tired of waiting. So I can say, see, he wasn't even willing to wait on you. Let's finish this text up so we can go to the house. What God establishes here in the text is that when you find things a particular way, it doesn't mean that that thing necessarily is that way. Sometimes things that we find in a particular order, and this is where the complexity comes. When we find things in a particular order, sometimes those things require something from us beyond our imagination and beyond our words. God used this phrase over and over again, and you got to read this to really find it. If somebody is on the screens, can you go back to the scripture? I want to show something real quick because it was very not that one, to the scripture that we read, verses 1 through 12. That's where it is. Hold verses 1 and 2 in your mind. I want to go to verse number 3. So you got to go back some. You're almost there. Go to at least 3. Thank you. Right there. And God said, now notice that the world was dark, right? It was without form. It was void. All of that. And this is what God said. And God said first, let there be light. Now, here's the thing. If you're crazy like me, you got to ask this question. Why would God say, let there be light first? Because the biggest problem for most of us is that we are blind unless we see. So what God does for us is say, let me go ahead and deal with your biggest handicap. Because see, let me make it simple. 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 Who got a car note in here? A car note. A car note. Okay. Car note. Okay, here. Now, her question is, how in the world this right here going to get a car note paid? In other words, there's still darkness in this situation. This one right here has about 4 cardinals on it. Watch this. So here what happens now. She can see better. So now the stigma with the inability of $5, the cataract is removed because I have the ability to see it perform. I can't see it with this. This is the process. Because God might not give it all to you at the same time. You know, sometimes God just have to keep adding and adding to it. But because we can't see it, we're still in the dark. So God said that the world was without form, that it was void. And listen, it goes on to say it was dark. But the first thing that God said was, let us see. Let's go ahead and remove the biggest cloud that we have, because what struggles most humans have is the inability to see when they're in dark places. I want you to understand. Can I get that back right there? What I want you to see is because I'm so forgetful. Here is the thing. What I want you to see, stay with me. What I need you to see is this. What God saw from the beginning when he faced the problem was that light was the solution. What I need you to understand is that wherever you are, God already sees your solution. That the first thing you got to realize is there's no way I'm going to plant my feet anywhere that God has not already provided a resolve. All I got to do is trust my location, because I got a Father that knows everything that I need for salvation. Stay with the screens. He says, and let there be light. Watch this. And he said, let there be light. And what? There was light. What God shows us is this, that when I speak, not only does my spirit move, but things move because of who I am. Go to the next verse. And he said, and God saw the light, that it was good. And what does God do with the light? God divided the light from darkness. Next screen, if you will. And God called the light day and called darkness night. In the evening and morning was the first day. Let me tell you what God has done here. What God has done is separated your problems from you. God has put one part in one place and another part in another. I want you to know that how you start with something is not necessarily how it's going to end up. God is always working in your favor. Even if he got to create something, he has the ability to turn nothing into something. Can you go back to the screen? They done seen me. He goes on in verse number 6 and say, God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. In other words, God is saying, let some show up where there is nothing visible. I have water, but there's something hidden in the waters. I want you to know that nobody will ever know all of you, because God will keep parts of you hidden. And as you move from faith to faith and glory to glory, God peels back a level and a level and a level. You don't even know who you are until you get in trouble. You don't know who you are until your back is against the wall. You really don't know who you are until you get to a place called stuck. And then God begins to tell you, you are more than a conqueror. You are more than death, that you will live even in the midst of this. He tells you that you are the light of the world. So what God shows us here is that we are always bigger than our setup. I wish I had time to preach this, but my time is almost up. But I want you to understand, follow me forward because I got to go to a close. I want you to follow me forward, and you can come back next Sunday and get the rest of this. Okay. Something happened to me this morning. I went to bed last night. I think it was about 7 o'clock or 7:30 or something. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And I woke up about 1 o'clock. Jesus, I've been up ever since. I done walked, I done looked, I done prayed, I done talked, I done stood, I done looked out the windows, I done played with pillows, everything. To finally I said, it's just time to get up and go. It's only so long you can just lay there. Here we go. Who moved the words? Oh, this is what, stay. Don't move, stay with them. This is what I want you to see. Everything that God is doing, watch him. God creates all of this stuff. And then God finally comes to a place, he says, let us make man. Why is it that God waited to the last to do human creation? I'm going to tell you something. Oops, watch out. Let me tell you something. I've been reading this scripture for a long time. I'm going to give you cities that you didn't build. I'm going to give you land. I'm going to give you vineyards. I'm going to give you houses. I don't know if we understand delay or not. For many of us, delay says to us, let me go up here. Y'all looking around at me. For many of us, delay seems to be God's nod for no. Don't do that to yourself. I want you to know something. I learned from reading this creation story again that what I have come to realize is that God gets things ready for us. And when they are completely ready, that's when he brings us into them. Read the creation. The very last thing that God does is create man. But it's after the world has been prepared and ready for him. What ends up happening is that I have to shift my mentality. And I have to stop asking God what's taking you so long to realize that God is taking his time because he needs to complete my special order. See, I can't ask, forgive me, but I can't ask a person that wear a size 6 to put on a size 10 and be comfortable. Because every time you take a step, your shoe is going to flop. Why is it flopping? Because it's not your size. What I'm learning in this creation narrative is that God takes time to get stuff prepared. And if we wait on God, give him time, and trust that in due time, when he's finished with it, we will end up with the best. I hope I'm not too elementary here. All right, y'all ready for the close? When God created this, I got to the last part when God says to man, there it is, it's yours. It went off in my head like, bing. God did all of this. He started with day one with Adam in mind. When God started creating, Adam was already at the heart of God. Can I close? I don't even know what time it is. Who got the time? Who? 9:35. So I've been preaching for 30 minutes at least? 15? Longer? An hour? How long? About 45 minutes? Oh, yeah, it's time. Here we go. I got a towel somewhere. Where? Oh. Can't be. All right. I need my glasses. Wherever they are. Let me put everything together. Y'all ready? Now, let me do something real quick. Because I made a note, and I didn't want to do oversight with this. I made a note. And my note says that God starts with nothing. But nothing was not what he saw when he started creating. That he already had an imagery in his mind. What God used his words for was pixels of the picture that he saw. God could say it was good because the picture came out just like he imagined it. What God spoke, he believed it would happen. God believed that what he said would turn into his picture. God's words were a depiction of God's work. They aligned themselves together. And when God was done, what he wanted was to give a gift or for it to be a gift for someone other than himself. Close out, Adams. How many of us have desires that would not only benefit us, but would be a gift to somebody else? How many of us are cautioned enough with our words to say that what I say will show up where I am? If we really believed that, then why are our languages that we communicate to other folk have so much doubt layered and so much gloom over? Because if God said, let there be light, and it was for Adam, why can't we see light in someone else? Let me shift it. Why can't we want light for somebody else? What I'm learning in this text is that our words become animations of who we are. That doesn't make sense. What I mean by that is that my words will let you know what kind of person I am. If I'm always talking nasty, I can wear whatever suit I want to wear. But underneath it all, I'm just a nasty old boy. But if I'm a person of faith, then it doesn't make a difference what shows up. I have confidence that the Lord who saw void, who saw no form, who saw darkness, yet saw that there was light, yet saw that there was waters, saw that there was land, saw that there was vegetation, saw that there was creatures walking upon the land, saw that there was creatures in the waters, and was able to speak on the first day with confidence that the big picture that I see will come to pass, because it's all connected. So now I'm challenged. He's afraid. He's afraid. Now I'm challenged. Since I realize that my words have power, since I realize that my words can cause things to move, since I realize that my words that I speak is really the picture that I see. So what I'm letting you know when I speak is what I see. So when I call you nothing, when I look at you, I see nothing. When I call you no good, what I'm telling you is what I see is no good. Because that's what I see. God had an option here. He could see what was there, or he could see what he wanted it to become. Amen. And the struggle for the church is that we got to stop looking at what we see. And even if what we see is real, we have the option of creating something alternative to what we see. So I can begin to change not only, because here is where it starts. It starts here first. And what I have here will come out of here. Amen. This is the most dependable person you'll ever find. Because when you call on him, he'll show up for you. This person right here is a person full of confidence that will give you encouraging life words that will speak over you things that you cannot see or believe in yourself. This person right here will give you their last dollar just to make sure that you are taken care of. This person right here will go 2 miles with you, not just one. This person right here is a person of faith. They will believe God for you, not just God with you. This person right here believes that the word of God is true. This person right here is on the uprise, that he's going up to the next level. This person right here, tremendous things is happening in their lives. Why? Because that's what I see. So, here is a challenge. All of us are born in sin, so we say, and shaping in iniquity. But when we're born again, we have to realize that something happens to the old man. That he passes away and the new man becomes. And as the new man becomes, we have to be like children with brand new toys. We have to begin to experiment with what we have. Because if we say that a man's belly shall be fully satisfied with the fruit of his lips, what I got to start doing is practicing saying what I want my belly to be satisfied with. If I am a lender and not a borrower, I got to know that I can't be broke lending. And that before I become a lender, I got to have some accumulation. I'm the head only. I might be in second place, but I'm still in first. You might not call me to the fifth person on the team and the only player you need to have your team picked out on the basketball team, but I know I'm still the best player on the team. There are some things that we got to know. Now, this is how I want to close this story. When God found us, it was a mess. But nobody in this room would say, I'm still the mess that God found. There are some things that I'm having a seat. I don't know about you, but there are some things that have improved. That have improved. One is I don't fuss as much as I used to fuss. I don't cuss. I'm down to 3 words in an hour. As much as I used to. I'm telling somebody else's story because y'all know we don't get but 1 curse word a month. We don't get but 1 curse word a month. And we have to pick the time that we're going to use it, and there is no carryover or borrowing. Y'all know that. That's the thing. Do y'all really know why I gave y'all that expression? Because if you challenge yourself there, you'll find yourself breaking that habit. If you know that you only got 1. And God forgive us if we over in next year. And it's still November. Don't give up. Just cut back. Meet March somewhere. Balance your books. But here is the thing that I need you to see is that the mess that God found is not the mess that we are. It's not the mess we are. Which is an indication to us that I'm not where I started. And I'm not how I started. The challenge with this whole text is, if I am an heir of God, and if God created me in his image, why aren't these things working for me? I can answer that. For me, at least I can. Because often I've grown impatient. I wanted it sooner than God had completed it. Remember, when God finished creating, that's when he created man. When he had finished creating what he wanted for man to have. God would never take you into a premature delivery. He would never take you to something and give it to you that's not complete. You know why people can't snatch you out of your season? Because God says you've waited long enough. The time is right. She can handle it. No matter what folks say about it, you can still hold your head up with it. Even if they lie, you can still walk in it. Because some blessings will come your way. Folk will tell you how you got there. Well, if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for that, but you knew all the time it's all God. And no matter what they say, you can still walk in that thing. Because God knew you had grown to a place where you could handle whatever the headlines were just as long as you knew the story in here. Had God given you some stuff earlier, you would have tried to give it back. But when folk try to take it, you say, wait a minute now, you don't know how long I prayed for this. You don't know how long I fasted for this. You don't know how long I waited for this. How you know it's yours? Because I prayed for it. And when I prayed for it on the first day, I had a picture in my mind what it was supposed to look like. Everything else that they have brought my way has been an imitation to what I was supposed to have. But now I know that the time is right. This looked like what I had in mind. Oh my. So the challenge becomes, what do I do with the words that I have in my belly? What do I do with the picture that I have in my mind? And if I have a picture and I have the words, then what do I do with my actions? My actions line up with my words, and my words line up with my actions, and it looks like the picture that I see. I see myself walking in health. I see myself walking in, and if I see myself walking in health, then I'm going to pay attention to what I eat, what I drink, and what I do. You're not going to get a flower painted on a canvas and never put paint in the container. You got to open the lid on the container and pour it into something and put it on a brush and apply it to the canvas. And when you strike the first stroke, it don't look like a flower. Matter of fact, after about 5 minutes, it still doesn't look like a flower. But when you keep working with it, you say, oh, there it comes. Oh, there, I see it now. And it's not even complete, but I see it now. Oh, it's taking on form. It's taking on shape. It's taking on color. It's taking on life. That's what I saw. Go home knowing this. Where you are is not where you're going to end. Go home knowing that how things look doesn't always mean that that's what it's going to be. God picked you out of the crowd because he knew that out of the most difficult places that things could happen, he says this is the perfect place for you because there's nobody else on your pew that can handle this like you can. There's nobody that will hold to faith like you will because you know that it's going to be tested and it's going to be tried. You know the devil is going to do everything he can to prevent you. You know folk going to lie just to try to stop you. You know folk going to scandalize you, ridicule you, and ask you, who do you think you are? I'm just a person been waiting on my blessing for a mighty long time, and I don't need you to get in my way because I hadn't gotten in yours, and I need you to step aside because what I'm expecting is bigger than me and you. I need you to slide over some because I'm anticipating my blessing coming my way. I don't need no doubt in my room. I don't need no hate in my space because what I'm expecting from God is perfect. I wish I had time to go ahead and finish preaching this, but I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. If you're here today, that's our God. Okay. If you're here today and you have decided that during our time together, God, I want to give you my life. All of these things you've created, you had me in mind, and because you loved me, it's really you looking out for me is what it was. I want to surrender to you today, and all the things I've tried, I want to try you. If you're a person in the room today that say that I want to commit my life to the Lord and walk with him, come join me here at the altar rail. If you're in here today and you came in as a visitor and it's your desire to become a part of our faith community, I'm encouraging you to come and to be a part of us because we've been praying for you for a while. Believing that what would help to make us whole, that God would see it and that God would send it. Standing all over the building, If you will to be saved, come and meet me here. If you will to become a part of our faith community, come and join me here as well. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great. Man, woman, boy, girl. Is our God. All will see how great. How great. If there be one, let him or her come. Is our God.